Visitors to a log cabin in Kentucky are right to ask, is it true that Abraham Lincoln slept here? On the eve of Lincoln's 209th birthday tomorrow, Brook Silva-Braga has our answer.
Right there is where I'm going to go in.
Professor Henry Gracino Mayer has come to Hodgenville, Kentucky to solve a mystery almost as old as Abraham Lincoln himself.
Someone pulls off the highway, sees you guys drilling into this cabin and says, "What are you doing here?" What do you say to them?
What we're trying to do is authenticate when this cabin was made by using the tree rings and the logs.
Some say our 16th president, born in these hills in 1809, spent some of his childhood in this cabin at Knob Creek. But did he?
This one has really nice outer curved surface down here. That's going to give us the outermost tree ring that was ever formed, and therefore it'll give us the cutting date of this particular log.
The professor and his team from the University of Tennessee have used this technique to date all sorts of old things, including, back in 2004, another Lincoln cabin just down the road, the one he was actually born in. Or was he?
I think at one point there was even a plaque that said this might be the Lincoln cabin. We just didn't know.
What we do know is that Honest Abe was born here at this park bearing his name. But Ranger Natalie Barber says no one honestly knows what happened to the Lincoln cabin.
There was no cabin here. It was likely gone by the end of the Civil War. About a mile up the road was a different farm, the Davenport farm, and there was a cabin on it. And the story was the cabin had originally sat here, but was moved to that farm.
That those were the people that grabbed the logs and moved them down the road.
That's it, and that's a story you can sell. And so that's a story that they sold.
Which explains the genesis of a bizarre 1890s tour that paired Lincoln's cabin with the cabin of another Kentucky native son, Jefferson Davis, president of the Confederacy, and brought the cabins of this unlikely duo to towns and cities across America. After which, all the logs wound up in storage, until a group of private citizens decided to put the cabin back together at Lincoln's birthplace.
How did they know which logs were which?
They didn't. They had no idea.
So they just kind of threw them together?
They just kind of threw them together.
A few Davis logs, a few Lincoln logs. If they fit together, why not?
If you got a traditional cabin, there you go.
Wherever they came from, when the professor dated the logs used to build the cabin, he discovered they'd been cut when Lincoln was already in Congress.
1848. It's not Lincoln's cabin.
Which is why they now call it a symbolic cabin. Some visitors, like Lee Van Martin, leave disappointed.
Right. I feel kind of cheated.
You feel kind of cheated?
Yes.
Why is that?
It's not the real thing.
But Lincoln's importance to Hodgenville is the real thing.
You have Lincoln everything. You have the Lincoln National Bank, you have Lincoln General Store, you have the Lincoln Jamboree down the street.
Cody McDowell works at the Lincoln General Store.
Now, Lincoln's kind of our identity. That's who we are, Lincoln.
Besides, they still have the story of the other cabin, the one we showed you back at Knob Creek. It actually belonged to a childhood friend of the president's, so surely Lincoln would have spent time here.
Wow, that's a nice core.
Time to put the story to the test. Back in the lab, the researchers sand the wood to reveal its surface, then precisely measure the pattern of wide and narrow rings and try to match it to trees with established dates.
That pattern is unique, just like a fingerprint, just like a DNA match. And we have a saying, trees don't know how to lie.
The trees don't lie, but they seem to often reveal that people have been lying.
People like things to be old. It's not so much that they're lying, it's just that sometimes history gets it wrong.
This is exciting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
One little bit at a time.
Having entered all the data into a computer program,
Okay, this is it.
This is it.
they asked the truthful trees what year they'd been cut down.
1861.
Oh no.
1861.
He was already president.
That's right. Unfortunately, this cabin has nothing to do with Abraham Lincoln.
So, no, Abraham Lincoln did not sleep here or here. What changes now for Hodgenville? Natalie Barber says, maybe nothing.
People aren't turning off the interstate and coming here to experience Hodgenville because of a cabin. They're here because of Lincoln, who he was as a person, not the wood that surrounded him. It's the story and the man that's always going to drive people here.